So he was Alfred Wagner, who is a German meteorologist, and he described the arrangements of the plates and as well as continents and ocean basins on the earth. And he was a man who prepared and who hypothesized about the movements of these continents, and how the earth crust moves. The earth crust moves. If you observe, see the moving of crust, and two plates, they are moving apart, and colliding, and because of that there is the combination of the forming of these mountains as folding mountains, and here subduction zone, and this is a spreading zone, and here lithosphere and continental crust. So these are the important things which happen regarding the movement of crust, and not only that, there are other areas also, and through this also we can show how the continents are moved, how the earth was formed. And here another important portrait, that is oceanic crust trench, continental crust, lithosphere and ionosphere. And another important thing, that is which we have to remember, see there, so that's about, this is how the crust moving. So this is how the earth crust moved and how the earth was formed. So these are the important basic things we have to learn. And once again, so let us have a deep discussion about this, the movement of earth's crust, Today we are going to learn about the movements of earth crust, which is very important. Topic in our curriculum, movements of earth crust, and how the earth is moving actually, and how did it get the present form of earth concept. And the earth actually, it is fixed the time scale of human experience. However, and the continents of the, we know very well, we already learned about the continents of the, there are 7 continents, and how did they form? Have they formed suddenly or accidental? No, it took about millions of years to get the present form of those continents. And this how old the earth is, and the continents of the earth, those have moved, collided, merged, and then been torn apart again. So mountains have risen and been raised to the ground, and oceans have formed and dried up, valleys have been carved, and so on. And during the course of earth eventful history. And here we have to discuss one important personality in the world, that namely Mr. Alfred Wagner, and he was a German meteorologist and geophysicist, And he discovered one theory, the theory which was discussed by Mr. Alfred Wagner. There is a theory of continental drift. The theory of continental drifts. And what it described. So this theory described and explained the present arrangement of continents and ocean basins. And this theory, which it explains that the present form of this arrangement of continents and ocean basins. And whereas this theory concerned, and he noticed the same thing and proposed that the continent were compressed in a single proto-continent. He noticed that the same thing and proposed that continents, those are compressed into a single proto-continent, and which he called it as Pangaea. What is that? Pangaea. And Pangaea is a massive supercontinent, supercontinent, and which means in the Greek language that is whole land. What is the meaning of Pangaea? That is whole land. In which language? Greek language. And if you observe here, we have got some pics here. So see how the Pangaea was 220 million years ago. How was that? See, once have a look, my dear children. So Pangaea is surrounded by some ocean basins. This is, and that, so the continents which we call them as Pangaea, and whereas here if you observe that there is one name he has given for that, there is a Pantholza, that is nothing but the huge body of the huge water bodies on the earth. And how these 220 million years ago, that Pangaea was, the continents were arranged according to one direction, or have they constant, have they static? No. So they used to break into parts, moved away from each other. For example, here is one continent, and this continent, and those are moving away from each other. So those were not static. And over million of years, these continents, once again, they collided each other. Okay, they dashed each other, they merged each other, they fought each other. So that's why. So that is another important thing which you have to remember. And are they moving even now? Yeah, they are moving still now, moving around. And Pangaea is a hypothetical continent. So this is a hypothetical continent, and this one Alfred Wagner hypothesized that this is Pangaea is a supercontinent, and which was divided or broke up to form two giant lands. One is Laurasia and another one is Gondwana land. What are those two important forms of this Pangaea? That is Laurasia and Gondwana land. And regarding this Laurasia concern, those are the present continent of North America, and here we can see here the present continent of North America, and Greenland, and all of this northern Eurasia. Eurasia is nothing but Europe and some parts of Asian continent, and north of Indian subcontinent is comes under. So this area we call it as Laurentia. And what is another form? That is Gondwana land. So Gondwana land consists of the South Africa. This is South Africa, and Madagascar. So this is Madagascar, and Arabia. This is Arabia. Malaysia, and East Indies, Australia, and Antarctica. So this part we can say that is nothing but Gondwana land. So once again, Gondwana land consists of South America and Africa, Madagascar, Arabia, and Malaysia and Australia, and even our India also. So northern part it went under this Laurentia, but whereas this Indian part it is under Gondwana land. And these two blocks, once have a look, my dear children. These two blocks, one is Laurentia and second one is Gondwana land. So these Laurentia and Gondwana land, they are these two blocks separated by a long shallow inland sea, which we call it as Tethys Sea. What is the name of that sea? Tethys Sea. Where is it? It is between a shallow inland sea between these two parts. One is Laurentia and another one is Gondwana land. Okay. And what is another event happened concerned, if you observe that it took millions of years for the continents to reach the present position. It took millions of years to reach the present shapes and positions of the clouds. So this is how the earth crust moved and get the present form of is the earth crust. So today we are going to learn the topic, the Earth's grid system. First of all, let us know what is a grid. What is a grid? So the network of latitudes and longitudes is drawn on globe is known as grid. The network of latitudes and longitudes is drawn on globe is grid. So these latitudes and longitudes, so see here, if you observe this, the line which is drawn horizontally and vertically, and those are, and such these lines on the globe, we call them as grid system. And if you move on the important topic regarding this grid concern, and we must know the latitudes and what are these lines? What are these lines drawn on this globe concern? So this is a globe. See, if you observe here, a line has drawn in the middle of the globe, and we know that very well that is an imaginary line, and which we call it as equator. So imaginary line which is drawn horizontally, we call them as latitudes. And this what it determines. If you observe this equator, the imaginary line, it determines concern. We know very well about the earth is spherical in shape, and such this line made this earth into two similar halves. So that's why we we are dividing the earth into two similar halves, and such we call them as hemisphere. And the northern side of this hemisphere we call it as northern hemisphere, and the southern side of this equator we call it as southern hemisphere. So here this hemi is, the meaning of hemi is half, and such we observe that, see, and here also we have got a clear picture about this regarding the equator makes these two similar halves. And again, if you observe, see, so northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. And on the same way, once again have a look, my dear children. So we have got a clear picture about northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. Similarly, this globe will be divided into eastern side and as well as western side. So see here, I am drawing a line. So this is this one is eastern hemisphere, and this one is western hemisphere, and this one is northern hemisphere, and this one is southern hemisphere. So these are the important things which you have to remember. And if we move on, the another important, once again have a look. This is very, very important. See how this is the shaded one, that is nothing but northern hemisphere, and where there is no shade, this is southern hemisphere. And like this, so this about northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, western hemisphere and eastern hemisphere. And very important, the lines. What are these lines? Is such getting confused as a horizontally, vertically. We don't know how can we define and how can we what they determine actually. What do they determine? What is the use of this? We have been learning since our childhood. From class 4th, we have been learning about these lines, but we don't have a clear idea about this. So let us have a clear idea about these lines, my dear. And here once have a look, these the lines which have drawn horizontally. So this is horizontal lines. So horizontal. So these are the horizontal lines. And here there is one line. So we already discussed this. So this is the line, the imaginary line which is drawn the middle of the globe or middle of the earth, as we call it as equator. So this is equator, and this 0-degree latitude. And what is the meaning of the latitude concern? It is a word which derived from Latin, latido, and which means width. Latido, which means width. So, and here, and you observe these, they are not only one. There there are so many latitudes are there. See here, so from here this is 0 and up to here there are about 90 latitudes. We call them as 90 degrees of latitude. So 90 degrees of latitudes. And even in southern hemisphere also there are 90 degrees. So altogether there are about 180 degrees. And let us have a brief look about the important latitudes on the globe. And see here, if you observe this, there is one latitude at 23 and of degrees of southern latitude, which we call it as Tropic of Capricorn. What is that? May you know what is the 23 and of degrees of southern latitude, my dear children? What is that? So that is nothing but Tropic of Capricorn. Tropic of Capricorn. 23. Similarly, if you move on to northern hemisphere, there is another 23 and of northern latitude, that is we call it as Tropic of Cancer. So this is a Tropic of Cancer and this is a Tropic of Capricorn. And once if we move somewhat upwards regarding the northern hemisphere, consider there is the 66 and off degrees of northern latitude, which we call it as Arctic Circle. So this is Arctic Circle. Could you please tell me, my dear children, how many latitudes are there in the northern hemisphere? Yes, there are 90 degrees of northern latitudes. And what about this southern hemisphere, my dear? There is also 90 degrees of southern latitude. So altogether, how many are there? Altogether 180. Very good. So, and here we learnt about these 23 and of 26 southern latitudes. And here once again, north southern side, there are 66 and 34 degrees of southern latitudes, and such we call it as, what is that? That is nothing but Antarctic Circle. Okay, so this is nothing but, this is about latitudes. I would like to ask you one question, my dear. Are these 180 degrees of latitudes are similar or same in length? No, they are different in length. Especially, which is the longest latitude? That is 0 degree latitude. That is nothing but equator. So what are the uses of these latitudes? What are the uses? Anybody? What are the uses? Why do we require all these imaginaries? If anybody asks a benevolent child like some ex, if he asks, sir, show me these latitudes and globes, we can't see because those are imaginary lines. That's very, very important, my dear. You must understand. You must know that those are all imaginary lines, are nothing but, in our English language, those are abstract, which we cannot see, which we cannot touch. But we can touch on globe, but we cannot see on the earth. So that you must remember. So now I would like to ask you one important thing once again. How many latitudes are there? How many latitudes are there altogether? How many latitudes are there? Hello? How many latitudes are there? There are 180 latitudes are there. How many? 180. So in northern hemisphere, how many are there? 90 degrees of latitude. Southern hemisphere, 90. Very good. What 0 degree latitude, what we call it? That is equator. And what it determines? It divides the globe into similar halves. It divides the globe into similar halves. So that is very, very important. Once again, see here, my dear children. So So latitude 1 degree latitude is equal to approximately 1111 kilometers. The circumference of the circle decreases from equator to pole, and at pole it converts to a point. And what is another name of these latitudes? What is another name? What is another name? We call them is latitudes as parallels also. It's a parallel. It's drawn parallel wise. So that is very important, which we have to remember regarding this latitudes concerned. Let us move on. Another important concept, that is nothing but longitude. So what is longitude? So till now we learnt about latitude. And what is longitude? So an imaginary line which is drawn vertically. What is longitude, my dear? An imaginary line which is drawn vertically. So this is also we got the meaning regarding this, a word from longitudo, which is derived from the Latin word. The meaning of that is length. And these are, if you observe these longitudes, if you observe carefully, those are semicircles. See, those are semicircle. And what about these latitudes? Those are parallels. Whereas longitude is concerned, those are semicircles. And here, so the 0 degree latitude we call it as equator. And what about this 0 degree longitude? So see here, 0 degree longitude is nothing but that we call it as Greenwich longitude, and which passes through the London. And this Greenwich, we call them as even longitudes, we call them as not only Greenwich, or we call them as prime meridian also. What is a meridian? What is the meaning of meridian? Meridian is nothing but noon. Meridian's meaning is nothing but noon. When the sun is directly overhead, that is nothing but noon at a given longitude. So longitudes are related to time. Earlier we don't have any kind of watches. How to calculate the time, my dear? So based on the sun rays only. If, for example, if sun rays falls straightly on our head, over our head, we calculate, we think that is 12, the time is 12 noon. So the same way. And these longitudes, so by that we can understand that, so this is Greenwich, prime meridian. The another name of this Greenwich or 0 degree longitude is nothing but prime meridian. And it has a relation with the calculation of time or time. And see here. So this is, and now let us, how many longitudes are there? Regarding latitudes concerned, there are about 180 altogether, southern hemisphere and northern hemisphere. And how many longitudes are there? There are about, in western side there are 180 degrees, and eastern side there are 180. So altogether 360 longitudes are there. And based on this, the whole world divided into 24 time zones. And how can we say that? 24 time zones? Tell me. There are so the world divided into 24 time zones, and if each time zone were 1 hour apart, there would be 24 in the world. However, the international dateline creates 3 more, and the width of each time zone is 15 degrees of longitudes, and difference between the one time zone and next is 1 hour. So here I would like to calculate, my dear children. In western side there are 180 degrees of longitude, and 180 divided by 15, so we will get 24. So eastern side 12 time zones and western side 12 time zones, and together there are 24 time zones. And then how much time it takes to pass from one longitude to another? Can anybody? Yes. So that to pass from one longitude to another longitude, it takes about 4 minutes. 4 minutes. For example, let us calculate. We know very well that Greenwich longitude is nothing but prime meridian, or which passes through London, and in India also. For example, so according to our calculation there are 4 minutes, and the time at prime meridian, assume that is 12 noon. Now whatever the time, the 1 degree of longitude during that time, that is 12 4 minutes. So if it is like that, what happens? There would be so much confusion. To avoid such confusion, what these people calculated, that they took the 0 degree longitude as international standard line or prime meridian. So there are so many. Then you can get a doubt. Why did they take only London or 0 degree there itself concerned? Because during those times, so we know very well that England was a country. It had a title that sun never set. It occupied almost all over the world. It established colonies all over the world. So she dominated the world. That's why they took that as the prime meridian or prime standard time. So now you got one clarity. So to pass from one longitude to another, it takes about 4 minutes. So 0 degree took as a prime meridian or for international time. And what about India? What the longitude has taken as for Indian standard time? Anybody? So that is 82 and a half degrees of eastern longitude. So what is our IST? 82 and a half eastern longitude. Now let us calculate what is the difference between Greenwich time and as well as IST. So let us see. So now the time is the time at this Greenwich is 12 noon. So we know very well that to pass one longitude to another longitude, it takes about 4 minutes. For Indian standard time, that is about 82.5 degrees. So now calculate what is the difference. 82 and 5 into 4. So 4 2's 8, 4 8 16, 4 8's 32. So 328 minutes, and here there is 1 half plus 2 minutes. So 330 minutes. So the difference between Greenwich longitude and as well as Indian Standard Time, that is 330. And if you convert this 330 into 3 hours, 330 by 6. Okay, so you know very well that 60 per hour, 60 minutes there, 60 minutes. All right, here. So 60 and 6 5's 30, 6 5's 30, and another 3. So what is the difference now between Indian Standard Time and as well as Indian Standard Time and as well as Greenwich concern? So that present the time at Greenwich are nothing but primary, that is 12 noon. And as how can we calculate this? There is a difference. We know, we come to a conclusion that the difference between Indian Standard Time and as well as Greenwich, that is 5.5 hours. It's fine. Okay. Then how can we calculate? See here, one mechanism here. So there is one is there. See here, EGA. What is meant by EGA, my dear? East gain add. East gain add. First of all, we should know where we are. That is also very important. We discussed already about these latitudes and longitudes. It helps to locate the place on the globe, particular area. So as we are, this is London, nothing but 0 degree or prime meridian. So here is India, that is. So what is the direction of this compare with Greenwich longitude, that is eastern side. So when we calculate the time towards east, what we have to do? See here, EGA means east gain add, and we have to add the calculation. So now we already known that the difference between Greenwich longitudes and as well as India concerned, that is 5.5 hours. Now let us have, now the time is 12 plus 5.5 hours plus. So why I added here? So when we calculate towards the eastern side, we must add. So now tell me, what is the time? So this is 12 noon, and now the time is 5:30 p.m. 5:30 p.m. So that is the calculation. And for example, if any of your friends is staying at I think so North America or western side, then what you have to do? See here, there is one calculation here, WLS, that is nothing but west lost subtract. So we have to subtract how many longitudes. For example, that is about 30 longitudes, and 30 means how many? 30 into 4, that is 120 minutes. So 120, if we calculate 120, if we divide 120 into 60, and we'll get 2 hours. So Greenwich longitude, for example, 12 o'clock is the time, and at 30 degrees of longitude, the time will be 10 a.m. That is very important, my dear. That is very important. So like that we can calculate the time with the help of these all these latitudes and longitudes. And what are the important uses of these latitudes and longitudes concern? Number one, we can calculate the time And number two, we can locate the places for exact location, to get the exact location of your area, for example. And we must know it lies between which longitudes and which latitude, and by that we can get exact location of this exact location of your area. So these are the very important regarding our these latitudes and longitudes, and as well as the movements of earth crust. This is very important, and you can calculate your time. So now this is the time the people who are staying in North America or Australia or wherever. So you know very well that the time which takes from one longitude to another longitude 4 minutes. On which longitude he is residing? Our language is 82 and off, and what is the difference? And by that we can calculate the time. So now the time, for example, now this is the time 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. Now the time in India, we know this 5.5 hours, 5 and 5:30 p.m. And those who are in 82 and off degrees and western side, that is nothing but we have to subtract from 12, that is nothing but 6:30 a.m. So that is the real use of these latitudes and longitudes. How many time zones are there? 24 time zones. So this all about our lesson.